have a lot of delegation from Egypt traveled and invited by the Iranian side in order to see how much Iran appreciate Egypt and how much Iran need to cooperate with Egypt and assist Egypt as far as possible in order to help in the future of Egypt after the revolution. However, on the other side, the Egyptian are not giving a lot of space for the Iranian in order to come and having a lot of investments and having a lot of relations right here in Egypt. But we think after the new president-elect, there will be a good opportunity. And according to the summit of NAM, I had an initiative, and it was submitted to Mr. Ali Akbar Salehi, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Iranian Minister of Foreign Affairs, in order to have a youth NAM that based on two main points: a cultural point, in order to erase all the stereotype among the NAM states that is about 120 member states, and the other side is economic, because economy will help in facilitating and in circulating the process of a complete normalization with Iran.
Right, Mr. Bastawi, and from the eyes of an economist, how far will this sense of political coordination, taking good positive steps forward, how will this reflect on economic cooperation in return?
Well, I think it's a very interesting time. There's a recalibration of foreign relations in Egypt. But I think, as was alluded by my colleague Mr. Ahmed, that a lot of the same pressures probably still exist in the region and internationally. What I would say is that from an economic perspective, there have been attempts for several years to strengthen relations economically between Tehran and Cairo, initiatives that have started on the Iranian side as well as initiatives on the Egyptian side during the Mubarak administration. And I think that that leaves a foundation that can be built upon by the new incoming administration of President Morsi. There are several different fields and sectors of business where I think that there are cooperation opportunities. And I would expect and imagine to see that there's probably a more facilitated capacity for engagement on the economic portfolio than perhaps there may be on other portfolios, simply because of many of the pressures that are on in the region.
Right. Councillor Sadeki, if we are going to talk about future horizons of cooperation, we talked about the economic perspective, but how about on the political front? How is restoring relations going to add to a sense of power, balance of power in the region, in your opinion?
I think it's from two sides, from Egyptian side and from Iranian side. I think from Egyptian side, as His Excellency the President Mohamed Morsi has pointed several times, I think in his key speech he figured out about a balance in Egyptian foreign policy. And it means, I think, Egypt in the future and would like, and I think would want to have an independent foreign policy. It means that Egypt is free to have relation with any nation, especially, and any countries, especially who have common culture as a part of civilized and maybe religiously. And I think for Iran, as a country, that it has the same and the common background with Egypt's, and as everybody knows, historically, there has been in different area of history, before Islam, after Islam, and even in the new area, there has been it has been very strong relationship between two nations. And from Iranian side, Iran has been interested to have very good and strong relationship with Egypt, politically, economically, and culturally. And there has not been any barrier and any consideration from Iranian side to have a good relation with Egypt, as they have said, my colleague said, economically or for trade ties, there has been good initiative from two sides. But from Iranian side, I think we have had a free hand. Because, for some obstacles and barriers that has been over the last maybe 30 years at the time of ex-regime in Egypt, there was very problem for getting Egyptian visa from Iranian people, by the Iranian people, or even by the businessman. And you know that it could be a very problem and obstacle for promoting relation and economic relation between two countries in the area of trade, in the area of investment, joint venture industrial projects, and for organizing exhibitions, and a lot of fields that has been this obstacle, I think, as a problem between furthering economical and trade relation ties between two countries. But I hope that the new chapter, as you have pointed, politically to open the new prospects for further economical and trade ties between two countries.
Right. Hopefully this will happen. We are expecting more to come on both the political and the economic front. Mr. Ahmed, Iran was still on top of the agenda of talks between President Morsi and Saudi King Abdullah bin Abdul Aziz in Riyadh. So tell us more about the Saudi-Iranian relations. There has been rivalry, as a matter of fact, between Saudi Arabia and Iran. It has been intensified by the Arab revolts, the Arab Spring revolts in the region. So how far will this, is this going to overshadow relations? And how about opening a new chapter with Egypt, and how far will this reflect as well on Egyptian-Saudi ties?
Frankly speaking, this is the most important question in this program, because we try to make a very good definition for the relationship between Iran and Egypt, and Iran and the Arab world, Egypt and the states on the Persian Gulf, the Arab states of GCC. By the way, the Iranian Gulf relationship is like a relation, I called it before, it's like I dislike you, but at the same time I cannot stay away from you, because because the volume of trade and investments in between Iran and the GCC states is about 35 billion US dollars. You know how much it is? Concerning Saudi Arabia, I think Iran, they have the biggest delegation of pilgrims to Saudi Arabia. It's amounted to 100,000 of pilgrims each year, in addition to the people who make small pilgrimage, Umrah. And there is a lot of trade and investments amounted to at least 12 billions of US dollars. Therefore, there is a relationship in between Gulf states and Iran. Therefore, there is a lot of investments and investors in Gulf states, especially in Saudi Arabia and in Emirates. And as we were discussing with Mr. Mahmoud before, there was the volume of trade in between Emirates and Iran. It was about 20 US dollars or something like that. Therefore, I don't know why the Gulf states don't want Egypt to have a normal relationship with Iran, despite they have a full diplomatic commission over there and a full business and investment relationship with Iran. Therefore, we need some sort of equality, equilibrium. Therefore, we are respecting, and the Arab states, they are our brothers and sisters and neighbors, but at the same time, we are independent, as cited from Mr. Mahmoud talked a little bit before, in order to have a new relationship and reshaping our relationship with the new powers worldwide, not just Iran, because we have also other countries that it is very important right now to have economic relationship and a strong relationship with, like China, Russia, Brazil, South Africa, Singapore, Iran, Turkey. And in the area, I think there is the triangle, the dream triangle concerning Egypt, Iran and Turkey should be a very good alliance that will make a lot of facilities and a lot of investments here in Egypt, and will enrich each other states and will be fruitful for all of them. And also we have Iraq. I think Turkey, Egypt and Iran can also having some sort of good investment in Iraq, because they know the key points over there, and they can make a lot of good business and good investments with Iraq, because they have good history and good relationship with Iraq.
Right.
So this is exactly a very brief about the relationship between GCC, Egypt, GCC and Iran, and vice versa.
Right, Mr. Bastawi, how do you read Mr. Ahmed's comment? He's talking about investment and new ventures between the triangle that he has mentioned. Egypt, Iran, Turkey, and Iraq also was added to the list. What sort of strong points can we get from this triangle if it happened on solid grounds?
Well, I think a careful analysis of Egyptian national interests will find that there is absolutely no reason not to engage on all different possible fronts with all the countries in the region, Iran included. In fact, I think it would be not very much in Egyptian interests to try to walk in a direction where there would be animosities or differences or tensions between the countries. There's really no interest that you can find and say that that would be in Egyptian interests. So from an Egyptian interests perspective, certainly there are quite a few opportunities in that regard. With regards to how the geopolitical axis will develop, I think it's a function of too many different variables that it's very difficult for us to speculate at this stage. What I will say is that in Egypt, yes, there is a polarization that can exist around Turkey. There's a polarization with Iran. There's a polarization that may develop from Egypt. And I think that many countries in the GCC, the Gulf Cooperation Council, are concerned about that. Whether the reasons for concern are right or wrong are intrinsic to those countries, but I think that, again, it's in the interests of all countries to increase relationships. Looking specifically at how that might develop in terms of your question, I think that Egyptian policy towards Iran is going to be a function, is really an evolving issue within the leadership of the Muslim Brotherhood, which is now essentially running the country at the presidency level.